Make it rain on him. Alright, go
Dr Karo, I'm here with Jaime again. We're at NorCal CrossFit, and what we're going to talk about today is thoracic spine. Thoracic spine mobility basically is, if I can get Jaime to turn around, it's where your ribs attach from T1 to T12. This is where your rib cage is. This is where all your ribs attach. What we need to do is make sure that this area is moving because it's a very mobile piece. We always want mobile pieces to be as mobile as possible without being too mobile, of course. So everything that we do, like going up overhead, has to include mobility in the thoracic. If you're stiff here, it's going to start taking away torque from either your shoulders or your hips and your lumbar spine. And so we want to make sure that the T-spine here is super mobile whenever you're doing any type of activity, especially going overhead, things like that. So we have a couple pieces that we want to include to mobilize this area. What Jaime is going to do, what you need to do is get a foam roll and maybe some weight. So what Jaime is going to do is he's going to grab the foam roller, he's going to lay down, and since we're foam rolling the T-spine, keep that foam roll as low. The lowest you're going to go is basically right above the lumbar, so it's in this midsection, right where your ribs start at the bottom. And what he's going to do is he's going to grab that kettlebell, he's going to put it on his chest, a little added leverage, a little added weight. He's going to give it a big hug to move the shoulder blades out of the way. And so from here, keeping his hips down, he's going to basically just open up and extend through that piece. And what we're trying to get is that thoracic to move and extend. And he's working it from the bottom, sliding down, going vertebra by vertebra or section of vertebra to open up and get some extension and movement in that thoracic. The kettlebell is just added weight. You don't have to use a kettlebell. You can do this without one. No big deal. Jaime's also employing some breathing. So he's doing big breaths in, big breaths out, on the way in, on the way out. Doesn't really matter. Play around. Do both. What we want to do is include that diaphragm. The next piece, he's going to go ahead and drop that kettlebell, and he's going to work on some of the ribs. So to get the ribs, he's going to give himself a big hug, moving, big hug, deep hug. What that does is that moves the shoulder blades out of the way. And what he's going to do now, he's going to angle his body a little bit. So right now he's working on the left side of that, on the ribs. It's still going to be closer to the vertebra, which is the spine, but he's still going to go up and down, kind of working on some of those ribs. You might hear some popping, and that's just your rib heads kind of getting some movement, and that's what we want. So he's going to work both sides, again, using breathing. He's breathing in, he's breathing out. He's including his diaphragm in this exercise and movement. The third piece here is going to be some rotational pieces, and this is where you could really include some breathing. It's unweighted, and it's going to be really good to open up that diaphragm, open up the rib muscles, the intercostal muscles, as we do this. So you're going to get into a quadruped position, which basically means hands and knees. You're going to keep that spine flat, and what you're going to do, so he's going to swing one of his arms underneath. So what Jaime's doing is he's twisting now. He's getting rotation through his thoracics and his ribs. He's going to breathe in, breathe out, whatever he's working on, and then he's going to come back out and he's going to rotate the opposite way and try to get as much this way as he can. If you have someone to help you out, this is a really good way to get a little bit extra, a little buddy stretch. And he's going to come through, he's going to the end range, and he's using his arm as leverage to try to rotate. Again, taking deep breaths in, he's going to open up and extend. If you got a friend, high five, and bring them back through. Okay. That's a really good way to just get your thoracic, your back, basically mobilized and get that moving before you do any type of overhead stuff, especially if you're stiff and you're one of these guys where you got this little rounded back constantly. This really makes your shoulder mobility poor, so we want to be able to extend, get better shoulder mobility. That's going to be your test and retest, is basically, how do my shoulders look when I go overhead? If you can see your arms, you should be spending a lot of time doing some mobility through your thoracic. to try to get some of that extension. All right, guys, so work on your T-spine. We'll see you next time.
Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you.